No, you think it's inappropriate, disrespectful?
Disrespectful to who?
To me, and to your kids, and to all my family.
Yellow.
There you are. Wow, somebody's lost a lot of weight.
Scott looks great. And I know that he's really struggled the last year.
Kris has always been a really, really close person in my life.
Kourtney Kardashian just gave her family an ultimatum. Either Scott Disick goes or she does. And Kris Jenner chose Scott. What's happening behind the scenes of the Kardashians on Hulu right now is more intense than anything they've ever filmed. Kourtney wants her ex completely removed from the show, removed from family events, removed from her life. But the rest of the family isn't backing her up. And the reasons why are about to change everything you thought you knew about this family. Now we all know Kourtney and Scott's history. They were together for 9 years, they have 3 kids together, Mason, Penelope, and Rain Disick, and they split for good back in 2015. That's old news. What's new is why Kourtney has finally reached her absolute limit with Scott being around. According to insider sources, Kourtney has completely lost respect for Scott Disick, and it happened a long time ago. But what's pushing her over the edge right now is his behavior with her own sisters. Sources say Kourtney finds Scott's constant flirtations with Kim Kardashian and Khloe Kardashian really creepy, and she genuinely does not understand why they tolerate it. If you've watched The Kardashians on Hulu, you've seen it. Scott sitting a little too close to Khloe on the couch, Scott making suggestive comments to Kim, Scott acting like he's still part of the inner circle while Kourtney is standing right there with her husband Travis Barker. And it's not just the flirting. According to reports, Kourtney sees Scott as someone who's hanging around the family like a bad smell. Those are the exact words the source used. She finds it incredibly frustrating that after everything they went through, after the substance abuse that ended their relationship, after his inability to commit, after she finally found happiness with Travis, Scott is still sitting at the family table like nothing happened. Kourtney has reportedly made it very clear to the family. If Scott Disick is invited, she won't show up. That's not a suggestion. That's an ultimatum. And for a family that built their entire brand on togetherness and loyalty, that ultimatum is shaking the foundation of everything the Kardashian-Jenner empire stands on. But here's the thing that makes this so much worse. It's not just about Scott being around. It's about what Scott represents. Every time Kourtney sees him at a family dinner in Hidden Hills, every time he shows up to a birthday party in Calabasas, it's a reminder of a chapter she closed years ago. She's built a completely new life now. She runs Poosh, her wellness and lifestyle brand. She co-founded Lemmy, her supplement company. She's married to Travis Barker, the Blink-182 drummer, and they share a son, Rocky 13 Barker. She has stepchildren she adores, Alabama Barker, Landon Barker, and Atiana De La Hoya. Kourtney has moved on in every possible way, and she wants her family to respect that. But Kris Jenner is not letting Scott go, not even close. Kris has always seen Scott as a second son, and she's been incredibly public about it. When reports surfaced back in 2022 claiming that Scott had been excommunicated from the Kardashian-Jenner family, Kris shut it down immediately on social media, saying Scott will never be excommunicated from their family, that he's the father of her grandchildren and a special part of their family. She's also said on The Kardashians that Scott is like her kid and will always be part of their family. And here's what makes this a real family civil war. It's not just Kris. Kim Kardashian and Khloe Kardashian reportedly share Kris's view completely. They see Scott as a fantastic father to Mason, Penelope, and Rain. They enjoy having him around. They think he brings fun energy to the family dynamic. And they think Kourtney has been unnecessarily harsh and cold toward him. So picture this. Kourtney gives the family an ultimatum, expecting her mother and sisters to have her back. And instead, Kris Jenner, Kim Kardashian, and Khloe Kardashian all side with her ex-boyfriend. That has to sting in a way that cameras can't fully capture. Scott himself has been vocal about feeling caught in the middle. He told Kris directly on the show that she doesn't invite him to half the stuff she used to. When he said he didn't want to go anywhere, he's not wanted, Kris reassured him that he's always wanted. But the reality behind those reassurances tells a different story. Take Easter 2023. The family invited Khloe's ex Tristan Thompson to the celebration, but didn't extend the same invitation to Scott. Even though Scott lives in the same gated community in Hidden Hills, Scott is getting mixed signals from all directions. Kris says he's family, Kourtney says he's not welcome, and the other sisters are trying to navigate both sides without picking one. Scott has acknowledged that losing Kourtney as a best friend after she got together with Travis Barker has been one of the more difficult things in his life. He said they used to be best friends who happened to co-parent, and now they're really just co-parents and nothing else. For someone who spent nearly a decade as part of this family's inner circle, That downgrade has to feel devastating. Now, here's the part of this story that nobody else is talking about in full. The kids, specifically Mason Disick, who is now 16 years old and making decisions that are sending shockwaves through the family. Mason moved out of Kourtney and Travis Barker's home and moved in with Scott Disick. Let that sink in. Kourtney's firstborn son, the child she raised for over a decade, chose to leave her house and live with his father. According to sources, Kourtney was heartbroken. She blamed Scott for the decision, believing that Scott's lenient parenting style is what made Mason want to be there. Sources say Scott buys the kids anything they ask for, and it's basically a free-for-all at his house with no real boundaries. But there's more to it than that. When the entire Kardashian-Barker family went to Australia for a full month in 2024, while Travis was touring with Blink-182, Mason refused to go. He chose to stay in California with Scott. Kourtney tried to put a positive spin on it, saying Mason is a teenager who wants to be with his friends and his dad. But reading between the lines, Mason is making very deliberate choices about where he feels most comfortable. And it's not with Kourtney and Travis. Then came the bombshell from season 7 of The Kardashians on Hulu. Scott revealed to Kourtney Kardashian that he was seriously planning to move back to New York City and take Mason with him. This wasn't casual talk. Scott had already sold his boat in preparation for the move. He was looking at apartments uptown and private schools for Mason to finish his education. He was ready to go. But here's the twist. It was Mason himself who talked Scott out of it. Mason told his father directly that he couldn't actually move. Scott realized it would be too much to ask his 3 kids to fly back and forth across the country just to see him. So he abandoned the plan. But the fact that Scott was willing to take Mason 3,000 miles away from Kourtney, and that Mason was apparently considering it, says everything about where this family dynamic currently stands. And there's another layer to this that people are missing. Scott Disick has gone through a dramatic physical transformation. He's lost a significant amount of weight, and while Kris Jenner expressed concern about his health on camera, sources have revealed that the weight loss is actually from using Ozempic. An insider explained that Scott isn't ill and isn't doing hardcore substances, and that Kourtney would never allow him to spend so much time with their kids if he were struggling with addiction again. Scott apparently started taking the medication because he couldn't stand seeing himself in video footage and wanted to lose the weight he'd gained after a car accident. Even Khloe confronted him on camera after fans spotted a GLP-1 medication in one of his scenes. This transformation matters because it signals that Scott is trying to reinvent himself. He's not the party boy from the early Keeping Up with the Kardashians days. He's a 42-year-old father who runs his clothing brand Talentless, flips luxury real estate in Los Angeles, and is actively working on himself. That makes Kourtney's push to remove him even more complicated, because the family can point to his growth as evidence that he deserves to stay. As if things weren't tense enough, there's a new development that is probably driving Kourtney absolutely crazy. Disney and Hulu recently revealed that Scott Disick and Kourtney Kardashian are developing a brand new spin-off show together called Calabasas Behind the Gates. Think about what this means from Kourtney's perspective. She wants Scott removed from the Kardashians, and the network's response is to give him his own show with her sister in the same neighborhood where they all live, the same Hidden Hills and Calabasas community, where Kourtney is trying to build her new life with Travis, and the Scott and Khloe dynamic is its own can of worms. Fans have been pointing out for years that these two have an unusually close bond. They've been spotted cuddling in bed during what Khloe called a family sleepover. They finish each other's sentences on camera. Fans online have literally called them soulmates. For Kourtney, who already finds Scott's flirtations with her sisters creepy, a whole spin-off show centered around Scott and Khloe's relationship must feel like a betrayal. This also means Scott's presence in the Kardashian-Jenner universe isn't just continuing, it's expanding. He's not going anywhere. If anything, he's becoming more embedded in the family's business empire than ever. Kris Jenner, who executive produces all of these shows, clearly sees Scott as a valuable asset. And when it comes to the business of being a Kardashian, Kris Jenner's word is final. So where does this all go from here? Because this standoff isn't resolving anytime soon. Kourtney recently admitted on camera that co-parenting isn't easy, saying it's always about trying to be cordial and staying on the same page, but everything happening behind the scenes suggests they're nowhere near the same page. Kourtney wants Scott gone. Kris wants him to stay. Mason is living with his father, and Scott is about to get even more screen time with a brand new show. There's also something interesting circulating online right now. A popular Latina astrologer named Esoteric Isa, whose real name is Jasmine Alejandrez, made a viral prediction that Kourtney Kardashian and Travis Barker are headed for a split in 2026. She wrote that she predicted their baby, and now she's predicting their divorce. She specifically pointed to the 2026 Venus retrograde, activating parts of Kourtney's chart connected to Uranus and Pluto, which in astrology represent transformation and freedom. She even said Kourtney will realize she lost her identity and was never the muse, and that she gave up her Aries power in love. Now, whether you believe in astrology or not, the timing of this prediction is interesting. Because if Kourtney's marriage to Travis were to face real challenges, the one person waiting in the wings, the one person who never truly let go, is Scott Disick. And the one person who would make sure Scott was right there, ready to step back in, is Kris Jenner. The question everyone should be asking isn't whether Scott Disick will be removed from the Kardashians. He clearly won't be. The real question is whether Kourtney Kardashian will eventually remove herself, because right now, she's the one who feels like an outsider in her own family. And that's a position no one expected the eldest Kardashian sister to be in. This family drama is far from over, and honestly, it might just be getting started.